At least 10 people have died in central Italy after heavy rains and floodwaters swept through the Marche region on Thursday night. The German government says it has taken control of 2 subsidiaries for Russian oil refinery Rosneft in a bid to secure enough energy supplies for the winter months ahead. Organisers for Europride in Belgrade have proposed a new route for their LGBTQ+ rights march in an attempt to persuade Serbia's authorities to lift a ban on the demonstration. The village of Pianello di Ostra in central Italy has been left for ruin. Torrential rain and overnight floods have claimed the lives of at least 10 people in the Marche region. 4 others are missing, including 2 children. Residents in the town of Senegalia are also reeling after the Misa River burst its banks. Mud, floodwater and debris now fill the streets. The worst hit area was Ancona, a port city on the Adriatic Sea, where 400 millilitres of rain fell within 2 to 3 hours. The neighbouring region of Umbria was also affected. Several municipalities are now without power and clean drinking water, while authorities say schools in affected areas will remain closed until Monday. More than 300 firefighters were dispatched in a widespread rescue mission. Some waded waist-deep through the water, while others steered rubber dinghies through the flooded streets, putting trapped residents to safety. Firefighters reportedly saved a woman whose car was swept away by the floods in the town of Barbara. However, rescue services have failed to locate her son, who was separated from his mother's arms by the torrents. After visiting the Marche region, Prime Minister Mario Draghi described the situation as a disaster and added his government would do everything necessary. The region's Council of Ministers has approved a state of emergency loan for an initial €5 million to aid relief and reconstruction efforts.
The German government announced its plans to take control of the Russian Rosneft oil refineries in Germany. It says it wants to place the majority owners of the PCK refinery in Schwedt and Brandenburg under the trusteeship by the Federal Network Agency to ensure energy security.
And that's why it's important now that we do everything to ensure that Germany's energy supply functions, and that also applies to the processing of crude oil. The important thing is that the Schwedt site will be secured with this decision. I would like to say that especially to the workers of the refinery and their families, and of course to the city and the region.
The measure comes as the EU will enforce a blanket ban on Russian crude oil next year. Scholz and Minister of the Economy Robert Habeck also spoke of plans for the future without oil. This is to be achieved with investment packages for the region.
€100 million will be made available for an infrastructure transformation in this region for the future, to then transform this region into a prosperous area even after oil.
Scholz also addressed an army congress today, saying that Germany is, quote, ready to take on a leading responsibility for the security of our continent, and that the German army must become the cornerstone of conventional defence in Europe and the best equipped force. Scholz and Germany has previously threaded lightly and quietly about increasing its military dominance.
Ukrainian authorities say they have found a mass grave close to the recently recaptured town of Izium in the Kharkiv region. A makeshift wooden headstone indicates that the bodies of 17 Ukrainian soldiers are buried in this forest. But the Ukrainian Commissioner for Missing Persons says there is evidence of hundreds of bodies, including civilians.
We want the world to know what is really happening and what the Russian occupation has led to. Bucha, Mariupol, and now, unfortunately, Izium. Russia leaves death everywhere and must be responsible for it. The world must hold Russia accountable for this war. We will do everything for this.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also said that investigations into the mass grave have begun. Russian forces left Izium last week and other parts of the Kharkiv region after a massive Ukrainian counter-offensive.
The Russian city of Pskov is home to twin anti-war activists Izaveta and Anastasia Grigorieva. Their father, Grigoriev, a military man, has served President Putin's army in Ukraine. While he left the battlefield for health reasons mid-June, investigators have placed his unit near the town of Bucha in March, where Kievan human rights activists say Russian troops committed a litany of war crimes.
This is what I remember. My father once told me, I am a military man, you go to opposition rallies. Do you understand that sooner or later there will be a situation where you will be on the other side to me and I will point a weapon at you?
I feel enormous guilt for all Ukrainians. I feel sorry that they have to go through all of this all the time. All these military offenses, the war in the country, the destroyed homes.
While Moscow denies harming civilians in what it maintains is a special military operation, the twins' family is now one of many in Russia that has been split over political and ideological issues. After 20 years of service, Grigoriev is stepping down from his duties, but according to new legislation, he could face jail time if he speaks publicly about his experiences in Ukraine.
Tourism in Turkey is rebounding. After a massive drop due to the COVID-19 pandemic, foreign visitors are a major source of income for Nico Valdez's fish restaurant on the shore of Istanbul's Bosphorus Strait. But it's facing some different challenges this year.
We have a big problem with credit cards. Russian people coming to the restaurant want to use their credit cards to pay, but they don't work. I'm not happy about it, and nor are my guests. It's a difficult situation for Russians.
Russian tourists continue to come to Turkey while the EU is tightening rules around them. That's after Ukraine's government urged the EU and the G7 to ban them. Ukraine's foreign ministry didn't respond to requests for comment from Euronews about whether Turkey should do the same. Turkey has played a unique role in the war in Ukraine, both providing drones to Ukraine while also maintaining a relationship with Russia, especially a financial one. This is the yacht believed to belong to Dmitry Kamenchik on Turkey's popular southern coast. It's one of several yachts owned by Russian oligarchs reported to have docked in Turkey following Western sanctions on Russia. The U.S. warned in August there was a risk of penalties for Turkish companies if they worked with sanctioned individuals. Ankara dismissed the concerns, stating it would improve trade with its neighbors while not going against sanctions. Any business Turkey can get is vital for its embattled economy that is now seeing an official inflation rate of more than 80%. That has put major strain on Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's popularity. Economist John Selçuklu said tourism revenue is especially important this season as Erdogan is set to face his most difficult election next year.
Given the macroeconomics in Turkey right now and the dire need for any kind of exchange currency in Turkey, I would say that Russian tourists are very important.
For Valdez, he says Russians account for about half of his business.
We have a very bad economy, but Russian tourists coming here means we can earn money, which is good.
Very nice.
Christina Jovanovski, Euronews, Istanbul.
The Metropolitan Police Force says 2 officers were hospitalised after being stabbed in central London. The attack occurred around the Leicester Square area, around 6 a.m. local time. A man in his 20s was arrested on suspicion of causing grievous bodily harm and assaulting an emergency worker. Police do not believe the attack was motivated by terrorism or linked to the events relating to the death of the Queen.